Ruby's family. Hope you are well kept of the Lord, and if anything is amiss, we pray that the Lord will minister to you. So my name is Jane Osoro, and it's good to be here again to share today from a personal point of view, to share a personal testimony. But before then, I'd like to acknowledge those who are walking this journey with us. First and foremost, Elder Palm, thank you so much, as always, for allowing us to use your space to shoot our videos. Elder Palm Guest House in Eldoret, it's open for you if you need accommodation, very serene environment. Then Dada Hair and Makeup, thank you for the makeup and the hair, not just the styling, but the actual braiding. So you can look for Dada Hair and Makeup for all your hair and makeup needs. And then Tribeless Photography for doing such a great job with our videos. We really appreciate that. So a few months back, I was talking to Cecilia, our editor, and it was a personal conversation. And I mentioned to her something about my life, and then she was like, Jane, I didn't know that about you. And I was like, what do you mean? Everyone in the Ruby's team knows that about me. And then she was like, no, I don't. Maybe it's because I came later and you had already talked about it. I was like, I talk about it quite a bit. So I realized that one of my mantras, or one of the things that we say a lot in Ruby's, is that the girl next door has a wonderful testimony. So that quite often we may not have a celebrity behind the camera, we may not have celebrities feature in our articles, because just the women around us have wonderful stories. And I'm always looking out for those stories of how the Lord is working in our lives. But when we had that conversation with Cecilia, I realized that I haven't shared much of my own testimony, and yet it may hold something precious for somebody in terms of what God has done in my life, and it may be encouraging to you. So in the next few videos, that's what I'd like to do, to share my story. I'm going to start today somewhere halfway, because part one is something I'm still praying about, that when I talk about it, it will come out from a point of glorifying God rather than glorifying my pain. So I'm still working on part one. So here is part two coming as part one. But yeah, so hi, my name is Jane. My full names are Jane Chebet Chirchir Osoro. There's an Achieng in the middle there. I was born in 1984, turned 40, really, and I'm celebrating the whole year, my 40th birthday. I grew up in a Christian family. I'll share that more when I do part one. But the Lord has been, I gave my life to Christ at a young age, and He has been my source of guidance, my source of wisdom, the source of the guiding principle for how I do things. So in today's video, I want to share about waiting for marriage and meeting my husband. Apart from sharing and hoping that my story will encourage someone, it also comes at a time when I've been observing a lot of people, especially young ladies around me, pursuing the wedding rather than the marriage, pursuing the concept rather than the reality of marriage. So, but here's my story. So I had a very well laid out plan. I was going to finish high school, going to university. I was not going to date in my high school life, which I didn't, though I had numerous crushes. I was an average teenage girl. I didn't date. Then I said, now when I got into college, I was like, now I'm ready to date, because that's part of my plan. I can date now, because my plan is when I finish university, I get married within a year, at most 2. Start having kids as soon as possible. My plan was that by the time I am 30, I would have done, 28 actually, I would be done having kids and now just enjoy my life with my husband, in quotes. So I finished high school. I finished quite young. I was 16. I did my O-levels at 16, and I didn't want to do A-levels. So I went straight into university. I got into university. I was now open to dating, but all the men who were interested, I was not interested, and they did not love the Lord. Finished university. It was a bit disappointing for me to feel like I finished campus. I never dated. The person I liked, I had a serious crush on someone for like 2 years. Lord, you are good to young hearts. Oh, the foolishness of myself when I look back then. Yeah, but I had a serious crush on someone for 2 years, and then graduated. That never happened. I was like, okay, it's fine. Next phase of my life. Campus is a very the school I went to had a very small population, so I was like, there's not much choice in the pool anyway. So now I'm in the outside world. I'll probably meet my spouse. By then I was 20. So I start looking for a job, etc., as I am keeping my eye out. Still, the pool was not there. I was still not meeting someone. I went out of the country to study, do some work, and I thought, yes, now this is even better. A bigger pool to choose from. But I was still facing the same sort of things, and I started wondering, what's wrong with me? It started becoming a what's wrong with me question. I started dealing with self-esteem issues, started dealing with self-concept issues. What's wrong with me? Am I not attractive enough? What do I need to do in order to be getting the right attention? And I started praying in that season also that I was out of the country. The Lord, I felt the Lord isolated me, sort of took me into a wilderness so that he could grow me spiritually and teach me about himself. So I was isolated from the things and the people that I would rely on for advice. I was away from my parents. I was away from my friends. I had to trust in the Lord and rely on him for everything. So I was taking a lot of time to pray about my husband. I got a book that helped me to have different topics to pray for my husband. So pray for his career, pray for his health, pray for his mind. So whoever this future husband was, I was praying for. And one of the topics was praying for his ministry. And for some reason, I used to spend a lot of time praying for whoever my future husband's ministry is. I don't know, but later I understood why I was praying for their ministry a lot. At that time, I thought it was just like, as a wholesome Christian, you have your family life, your work life, and you also have ministry that you do. But later, I understood why I was praying a lot for his ministry. And in the lonely nights, crying to God. And then one day the Lord told me, Jane, the way I love you so much that I will not bring you a man who is not ready because he will hurt you. I love that man as well so much that I will not bring you to him when you're not ready because you'll hurt him, you'll break him, you'll not be able to handle him. I was like, okay. So now my prayers changed. I started praying for myself. Oh, and before even I start talking about me praying for myself, one of the areas that I also prayed for was, I prayed ahead of time for my children, our children. I prayed ahead of time for my in-laws relationship. I prayed for so many aspects and all sorts of aspects concerning marriage. So anyway, the Lord tells me, it's time to work on yourself. So I started prayers that were more directed at myself. Prepare me, Lord, search my heart. And I started finding that those were prayers God was answering very fast. And he was highlighting areas in my life that I needed to deal with over and over again. You're saying, deal with this. Forgiveness issues, heart issues that I needed to unload. Basically, the Lord working towards my wholeness before I was in a relationship with anybody, working on him being my all in all, that the Lord was my all in all before he came. I remember there was one particular area I felt like, Lord, I am always there for people. I'm the one who people run to. And I'd really like to have a relationship with my husband where now he is my person. He's the person I can run to. So I was praying for that one of the things I'm looking for in my husband is someone who will be my shoulder to lean on. And then God told me, what if I want you to be his shoulder to lean on? I was like, Lord, you're asking too much from me. What's left? But I surrendered to that. And it was a matter of the Lord just teaching me, I am your all in all. So that by the time I was getting into a relationship, what the Lord was intending is that I get there knowing God is my all in all, not a human being. So yes, I went through that process. I finished my stay where I was. I came back home to Kenya. Still not yet in a relationship. It's still my prayer to meet someone. Still in a dark place because there were other things that were happening. And then now when I finally had surrendered to, you know what, Lord, there's still a lot of work in my life. Here I am. In fact, don't bring anyone in my life yet. You deal with me. When I was in that place where I was, just surrendered to what the Lord will do and to the dealings he was doing in my heart. One day when I was coming from church, I saw someone. I was leaving church. I was already on my way home. And then I saw someone I had planned to talk to sitting somewhere. I didn't meet them at church. So I was like, no, I had purpose in my heart. I'm going to talk to this person. So I cut my journey short, got off the car and went to talk to this person. Again, this is, like I said, I'm always there for people. So one of the things I do is follow up a lot. So I had purpose to follow up on this person. So I was following up on this person. So where he was sitting, this friend of mine, where he was sitting, there were two other gentlemen. So there were three of them sitting on a bench somewhere outside. And the thing that caught up my eye was that out of the three, there's only one who stood up for me to sit. And that person's name was Basire Benson. So he stood up, he was like, yeah, come, have a seat. So I was like, okay, fine. So I sat down and then I said hi to everybody. And then he just started asking me so many questions. What's your name? I eventually learned that where we were sitting was just outside his house. So he invited me in, everybody. When lunch was ready, he invited us in. We had lunch. And I was amazed. I was like, who is this man? Okay, first of all, yes, he stood up for me to sit. He was a gentleman. Then when I got to his home, he was living with his cousin. He was living with his younger sister. And there was an orphan boy he was housing. And then there were these friends of his who had come for lunch. I was like, who's this who just opens their house to people like this, And you could tell it's not that he's super rich, but he just has an open house. So I was intrigued by him. After the lunch, we went back out. I was going back now. And as we were leaving, he asks me, do you have a boyfriend? I was like, no. And he's like, can I be your boyfriend? I told him, talk to me nicely. I was shaken. I was like, what is happening? Who just asks me like that? Yeah. So anyway, that is how we began the conversation, and we ended up dating and ended up being married and having one daughter. 12 years. Yeah. 12 years? Well, 14 years. This year it's 14 years since we met, and 12 years in marriage. When, like I said, when I was waiting for the Lord, at that point, when I was waiting to get married, at that point when I met Bosire, I was thinking I had to go back home, and I was like, Lord, am I really ready? I think I like this person and I think he likes me, but am I ready? And I had to pray and pray again. In the meantime, things are just happening. I find myself, we are actually dating. But there were things that God helped to confirm. One of them was people's excitement around us. There was a lady that we met at there's a library he took me to borrow a book. And the lady at the library didn't know us, but there's a time, one of the days, it was several, we went to that library several times. So one of the days when I either was browsing books or I was away, this lady told Bosire, if is this your girlfriend? And if she's not your girlfriend, make sure you marry her. And she'd always meet us and tell us, this is a marriage made in heaven. Someone who didn't know us. His friends, people who didn't really know me, were so excited about the relationship. There was so much joy around the relationship that was, for me, a confirmation of this is where I'm supposed to be. Now, your confirmation will probably look different. And don't rely just on outside appearances. You've got to get the Lord's peace and the Lord's okay for where you are. Another thing that was so beautiful that I would want to urge any lady who is in this waiting period is the aspect of prayer. Those prayers that I made, that I told you I even prayed for my in-laws. When I met Bosire, I never started praying again for my in-laws. I just told God, me, the prayer for in-laws I had already done. What I want is just now answers. And for sure, for me, the picture of the picture that I have that most exemplifies this answered prayer is when my parents-in-laws were coming to meet my parents. And when they came in through the gate, because I had, of course, met them before, when they came in through the gate, and my mother-in-law was like, Jenny, and she hugged me, and she was so excited for me. I was just like, this is answered prayer, an easy relationship, a very easy relationship with my parents-in-law. I remember when I have shared this story a bit when we were trying to conceive and it took us time. Jael, our baby, is a miracle baby. I remember in those seasons of waiting, there's a time we visited her and she just held my belly and she told me, she didn't even say anything. She just told me, I'm praying for you people. Msijali, msisikie. She told me, don't listen to what people may be saying. Me, I'm just praying for you. We had no pressure from them. Such an answered prayer, to have such precious and such wonderful parents-in-law. Pray and ask the Lord to give you strategy on how to pray, that you're not just praying, I want a husband. A husband for what? You know, I see a lot of you get married and then there's a point when disillusionment hits. Because you didn't prepare yourself, because you were rushing after the wrong things within marriage. It's not a show. It's not to tell other people, ooh, I'm married. It's not for the outside. We are there with you up to the wedding day. We eat your pilau and then we leave. So whatever decisions you make, you have to be sure. What things are you praying for in a spouse? Are they superficial? Or are they the lasting things? What you need to be looking for is someone who loves the Lord more than they love you. You know, and then you as an individual need to be knowing that the Lord is your all in all and you need to be walking in step with the Spirit. You've got to love your knees. You don't stop praying after you get your spouse. You need to sustain your marriage in prayer. If there's any sustaining work that it needs to be done, it's done in prayer. So that even, because you find that even good things, one of the things I am learning in my life, in my marriage at the moment, is that even good, it's something I know by knowledge, that even good things can become an idol. But there's one particular thing that the Lord has been talking to me in the recent year, and that is that I made submission an idol. I am pro-submission, submission for life. Feminists hate me, fine. I'm submission. Before even I got married, I knew, submitting, I will have no problem. The interesting thing is that with submission is this, that the Lord knows you as an individual. So things that you think will not be an issue for me, because for me I used to think, why are wives fighting with their husbands over what car to buy, what land to buy? Just submit. But the Lord knows your heart. So there were other submission issues, which God helped me to work on. But then it reached a point where I was no longer submitting to my husband as unto the Lord. I had actually made my husband the Lord, or maybe made an idol of submission, so that it was without realizing, I had switched the places, that I'm submitting to my husband under the lordship of Christ, not to my husband first. So the Lord has been dealing with that with me, or has dealt with that in my life. My point is this: you need to have such a close relationship with the Lord. You need to be walking in step with the Holy Spirit, so that everything in your relationship is an outflow of that relationship. That he's able to tell you, my dear, there you're out of step, and you obey. My dear, there you're out of step because you've made an idol of something that is supposed to be good. And when you have that kind of heart is when, in the end of time, like Proverbs 31, the Proverbs 31 woman, it's something that happens at the end of time that your husband and your children are able to stand up and call you blessed. So, the point of my story, I hope, is wait. Wait on the Lord. Please don't rush, girls. If you're still waiting for a spouse, if you're still waiting for that relationship, wait on the Lord. It's okay. And that waiting, if you do it in the right way, it will build things in you that will last for a lifetime. It will build endurance in you, because marriage is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And some of the things that you build in yourself on this side build that endurance. So if it seems to be taking a little longer, I ended up getting married at 28 when I had planned to be done having kids at 28. I had my firstborn at 36, if I'm not wrong. Firstborn. Yes. So, but the Lord's timing is good. And one thing I can tell you is that the things that you think you're missing, you're not. The Lord is a redeemer of time. And that is one thing I can say about my life. He redeems time. Everything I have had to wait for, He has redeemed it. He has redeemed it over and over again. And He gives you the joy and everything and the satisfaction so that you enjoy it as though it happened when you wanted it to happen. Fullness of time, that is a reality, that there is something like the fullness of time. And when something happens in the fullness of time, it's perfect. The joy is perfect. The rest is perfect. Our marriage is wonderful, not because it doesn't have problems. It has its tough times. It has its hard times. It has its hard seasons. But it's wonderful because the Lord is in it and it is centered in the Lord. And before we got married, the Lord had worked in us the necessary things. So, again, if you're in waiting, wait on the Lord. He is good and He gives good gifts. Thank you for watching. Let's continue with the discussion. As always, in the comments, get a friend to talk more about these things. Lean not on your own understanding. Trust in the Lord as you wait. So I'll be back to share another part of my story. Look out for that. I'll probably share part 3 before I share part 1. But all in all, I will get through sharing these things that I feel the Lord would want me to share in my testimony of what He has done, and to encourage someone and to help someone in walking their life in a manner that says it's all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus. See you in the next video. Please reach out to our partners if you need anything. If you need an event to be covered by Tribalist Photography, if you need your makeup, if you need your hair done by Dada, if you need somewhere to stay when you're in Eldoret, a very serene environment, owned by a wonderful Christian couple, so you're sure about the environment that you're getting into. The Lord bless you. See you in our next video. Please subscribe and ask somebody else to subscribe, like and share our videos. Bye-bye.